yours.
Here we go. It's going to start off with Robert. He said, has there ever been a game and a year as 2024 Mets and Braves game today? Padres want Sale to pitch today and not tomorrow.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, this comeback thing, it was 3-0 in the 8th inning. I was on the highway making my way coming back from a press conference to come do the podcast. It was 3-0. And I turned around. All of a sudden, the Mets had 6. I said, oh, this sucker is over. They're going to have to play the second game of the doubleheader. And then Atlanta comes from behind thanks to Ozzie Albies again and gets a lead. And then Lindor solves it in the top of the 9th inning. And from the Mets and the Atlanta perspective, they got a problem. Now they've burned through their bullpens. I mean, they are going to be breathing fumes by the time somebody gets to San Diego. There had been conversation, John, over the weekend. I was told there was conversation maybe MLB might move the start of the Padre NLCS back a day to give whoever has to fly cross country again a chance to collect themselves. But then MLB said, no, we're going forward. The games are going to be played and the Padres are going to start on Tuesday like everybody else is going to start on Tuesday. So, I mean, from the Mets perspective, this is really hard because they were in Atlanta, although they sat and got rained out for 2 days. That's why they had a doubleheader today. Sat in Atlanta, went to Milwaukee, got kicked in the head in Milwaukee, got on the plane, came back to Atlanta late last night, played 2 today, get on the plane at about 6 o'clock tonight and come all the way out here and got to be at Petco Park tomorrow afternoon for a 5:38 p.m. start. So, I mean, the Mets are at a real disadvantage now.
Yeah, well, I just check on my phone because we kicked this podcast off in the bottom of the 9th of game 1. Game 2, Sale's not pitching. Holmes is pitching. And then right now the Mets are pitching Joey Lucchesi, our old friend from the Padres. So they're probably throwing in the towel. So this may end up to be a split, but so far it's no score in the second. I want to just kind of roll the clock back. This games, they are being the doubleheader. These are from rainouts previously in the year, not from this recent hurricane, right?
No, it was.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, the Mets were in Atlanta as that storm was heading in, and they got rained out 2 nights in a row.
Okay, that's what it is. So it's a very recent.
Yeah, it was when Wednesday, Thursday got rained out. They had to go to Milwaukee to play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then come back here for the Twin Bill today. This is not from months ago.
Okay, so there's really no other way. They could have probably figured out a way to make this work.
Exactly.
Wow. So I know I thought it's good that they didn't move it. I mean, as a Padre fan, selfishly, but also as a baseball fan, it just creates more drama. It's going to be a lot more interesting whoever rolls here in.
You're just big on drama. You're big on issues.
Well, then we have something to talk about.
Okay, thanks for the input, Rob. Next one.
Okay, and so John said, yeah, the second game between the Braves and Mets are going to have a hard time living up to game 1.
Yeah, and I want to know who the hell's going to pitch. When do they call the third baseman in to pitch? I mean, they burned through their bullpen. Who's going to be able to throw tomorrow? We asked our closer to throw 31 pitches in the 8th and 9th innings today, and they got lit. Both their closers got beat up. Who the hell is going to pitch game 1 if you have to go to the bullpen against the Padres?
Back when I was a kid, following baseball, starters used to always go 7 innings, 8 innings. You weren't always really worried about bullpen arms, but these days it's a different beast.
It's a different game.
It was a different game. Yeah. Cause you even concerned about Schilt and overusing his, high leverage guys. Yeah. This is all just great drama here. I'm loving it.
A lot of things change. I remember 3 cents postage stamps.
Okay.
I remember as a kid growing up on Long Island, 18 cents a gallon gasoline and gas wars. 18 cents a gallon.
Okay. Yeah. I think furthest back I go is 49 cents.
Yeah. I think your newspaper once upon a time was 5 cents. Now are there newspapers still out here to buy? And times are different. Hey, John, thanks for the input. Next question,
okay.
Fans Forum.
Let's go to Chris. John, if the season ended today, Sam Darnold would be the MVP of the league. For the first time in his career, he has receivers that people have heard of. However, I'm convinced his success is emanating from none other than his glorious mustache. Lee, break down for us the performance-enhancing powers of the mustache.
When you're great, you're great. Should I tell this story? So I text with a lot of people, executives, different sports. So I saw a picture weeks ago of A.J. Preller. Kind of looked like an Errol Flynn mustache. So I texted him and I said, listen, that's an okay picture, but if you need help with that mustache, call me.
You and the mustache, that goes back how far in time?
1970s, doing hockey. When I had long hair and a Fu Manchu, which was everybody in hockey had that back in the days
70s,
of the Broad Street Bullies, the Phillies and the Flyers and the Big Bad Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
So I had it, and I only shaved it off once. It was right after I got married, and I was going on vacation to my cottage, and we're getting ready to go the night of the midnight flight. We always fly overnight, and I said, I had to take this off. So I shaved it off. I looked like a car without hubcaps. And I peeked around the corner, and I scared my wife. She said, "What happened?" She said, "You were trimming to make a mistake." I said, "No, I just thought it," but I grew it right back, and I've had it ever since. So, it's part of who I am.
What do you think about Sam Darnold?
This is amazing. This is the Kevin O'Connell effect. This is the guy I thought coming out of USC we would see in the NFL, but it shows the complexities of bad team, high pick, drafting a quarterback. Look the hell what happens when you put a good young quarterback around bad players. And the Jets had no talent, no run game, couldn't protect him, and he's going through a brutal learning curve about where's the blitz coming and what's my pre-snap read. And I mean, there's a confidence failure there that was terrible, but that was an organizational failure. So now he's a veteran. So now he's got a little bit more experience. And obviously he's with a pretty gifted, smart guy, La Costa Canyon's Kevin O'Connell, and they're off and running. He's obviously got maybe the elite receiver in the league right now in Justin Jefferson. And I'll tell you, the kid from USC, Jordan Addison's a hell of a player. They don't have their tight end yet, and he's going to be back within a couple of weeks. Hawkinson. Suddenly, that's a really dangerous offensive unit they've got. A little surprised Minnesota's doing so well defensively because they lost their top pass rusher, Danielle Hunter. He went to Houston as a free agent, and they've lost a lot of guys off that defense because of salary cap issues. But wow, Darnold sure looks like the real deal. Whether you'd like him or don't think this is going to work out, you can't take away the fact they got 4 wins already. Government's not going to come and reclaim those 4 victories.
I'm happy for Kevin O'Connell and for Darnold.
Yeah.
But was Darnold there before McCarthy got hurt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he signed. He was supposed to go in to be the, quote, insurance policy. And, he went to the OTAs the same time McCarthy went to the OTAs, and McCarthy was playing okay. And then McCarthy suffered the knee injury and is gone for the year. And now they're lucky they got that insurance policy in Minnesota, because that insurance policy is now 4-0 as a starter. Wow.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's talk Aztecs. This is with Force Ghost Fabio. Aztecs football choked that game away. The kicker gave me flashbacks of that Miami game back in 1990.
Oh, what was his name? Andy, the field goal kicker that missed a couple of critical kicks. And he was a good field goal kicker. But at the end of the day, I asked Sean Lewis at the press conference today, because Rose is kind of off the bloom now. There's hardly anybody going to those press conferences. There's me and Kurt Kenny from the Union Tribune, one guy from the website East Village Times, and one cameraman. That's all showing up. So I'm not going to say San Diego State's lost the media, but not many of us there, but some of us are still coming. But I asked him today, what's the biggest phrase this week in the Aztec Center? And he said, well, so I gave him multiple choice. I said, it's learning curve, coaching, confidence, or what was the third one? Oh, he asked me too quick. I gave him 3 choices and teachable moments. He said, check number 3, teachable moments. We just have to learn how to cope with what's going on, and don't let one bad play become a second bad play, etc. And they put out the fire, at least last week, with all the offensive line penalties, but that was replaced by all this junk, all this cheap stuff that happened with personal fouls on defense. I mean, they had a kid throw a punch. The whole world saw the punch, but a Mid-American Conference referee didn't see the punch. They had one of their corners should have been thrown out of the game. Plus they had helmet hits, they had late hits, they had roughing the quarterback hits. So he's got his hands full right now. And I don't like the play calling, because they're asking that kid freshman quarterback to stand in the pocket and let receivers run their deep routes. A, the kid could get cleaned out, get hammered, or B, you're asking him to throw it deep they're completing less than 50% on bombs. And as I said early on, you got all the speed as wide receivers and his tight ends, throw slants, throw up and outs, throw crossing patterns, wear the damn defense out rather than stand back there and try to throw it 38 yards down to Lewis Brown, complete 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 of those passes. So Sean's going through, I think he's going through a rough time, but I'm not giving up on him. I still think at this level, with that playbook and the number of athletes, I still think San Diego State is going to have a decent season. But dude, you're 1-3. I'm not 1-3.
You're undefeated. Oh yeah. You gotta have patience with this guy. I mean, he's brand new. I mean, we're all spoiled from Rocky Long and Brady Hoke, and all the, with over the 2000 teens, they were just such a great run. And yeah, we've got to take 2 or 3 steps back. And I think that's what we're in. It must be just so hard to build a culture, and then the players you're recruiting, you got a lot of these players have a chip off their shoulder, and maybe that's why they're getting in some fights a little bit, trying to prove that they're legit.
I just think you stay the course, you continue to teach them. I do think you need to open the playbook a little bit more. And once they start to win, they're going to win because this confidence will continue to grow. They're playing hard right now. That defense, unfortunately, is on the field too much. I think there's 133 teams in Division I. San Diego State is 129th in time of possession. They're the 4th worst time of possession team because you go fast, but dude, if you go 3 and out, your defense got to come back on the field.
Right.
And of course, Sean's response is, yeah, but if I score a touchdown in 3 plays, my defense has to come back on the field. So, Lee, you got to balance this out. I say, yeah, but you're 129th in time of possession.
Right.
All right, next question.
Let's move on. Let's go to Jason. This is Padres. Was so nice to see Suarez throw changeups the other night to get the save. Finally.
Well, he's got to master location with the other pitches. Because if he masters location with what he's doing, whether it's changeups, curveballs, sweepers, whatever you want to call it, that's going to make the velocity look even stronger when they start guessing what the hell's coming. All of a sudden, it's 101 miles an hour in on your fist. But he's got to get consistent with location to be trustworthy. So, hey, but they get a day off. They'll all be refreshed. First game of the playoffs, 5:38 tomorrow night.
I just remember his first game for the Padres. He had to close a game in Arizona.
He got lit.
And he got lit. Yeah, and I felt really bad for the guy. And then he really turned it on, and he's got the skill. And that fastball has got so much life on it, but it's as straight as a bullet. So, yeah, he needs to develop that off-speed stuff. I would hate to have a horrible problem in the playoffs with him. That would be tough.
Well, they got quality starters and they got depth in numbers. They just got to make sure when they hit the phone call to the bullpen that's the night that Suarez is on, or that's the night that Tanner Scott is on, or that's the night that the other setup guys are going to be on. We'll see. But they got numbers, and they're not operating on fumes like the Mets or the Braves pitching staff will be coming in to Petco Park.
Keep the faith, baby.
Yeah, but let's also be realistic here. I mean, before we order World Series rings, let's be realistic. Whatever we're going to get accomplished has to go through Dodger Stadium or Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got a lot to go.
I don't want to throw cold water on you and ruin the carpet.
Okay.
Next question.
Go to Richard here. And he says, when it comes to Major League Baseball marketing their brand, why on God's green earth would you not reseed so that LA and San Diego could be a possibility for the NLCS rather than knock another off in the divisional series? Shaking my head.
Well, I guess that's a viable question, Rich, but end of the day, you can't change the rules year by year based on who's hot, who's not popularity. The rules are the rules. So that's why you have the seedings, and we expanded the wild cards. The wild card used to be a 1-game plan. Now it's best of 3. But then people bitching. Well, that means the first 2 winners in the league sit out almost a whole week because so then baseball came back and said, okay, the best of 3 will be in one location. We're not doing cross country trips.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's as good as it can get. I'll tell you, it's pretty electric though. When they went to the 1 game, in essence, a wild card play-in, the whole damn world stopped. Got to watch this game because it's win or die.
Yeah.
And of course, today for the Atlanta Braves, they lost. They died in the first game when they had it right in their hand. Heartbreak is unbelievable.
Yeah, I need to check the score on what's going on there. But I just remember when I was a kid in the early 70s, that was when divisional play first started. Mm-hmm. And the AL-NL Championship Series, I think, were best of 5. And then they went to the World Series. But sometimes I get confused because the first round's best of 3 is the divisional round best of 5, then the championship is 7, and the World Series is 7.
And it was weird because I've seen a few more curveballs in life than you have. Although I don't foul them off, I usually punch it the other way, goes for a base hit.
Of course, yeah.
But at the end of the day, the World Series used to, it was American League, National League. And I grew up back when there were 8 teams in each league. And World Series was just, I remember the Yankees and the Braves, the Yankees and the Dodgers, all that. And then interleague play came along. And I thought, well, that's kind of novel. We'll get to see it. And the first couple of years of interleague play, John, they took the schedule and they packed it around the All-Star game. And that's when interleague play began. It starts June 1st. Everybody play everybody else. Come out of the All-Star game. Everybody play everybody else. And then we'd roll into July and we'll go back to playing. I wish they do that now. We lost a little bit of the zing by having interleague games the first week of the season or, the 5th week of August, etc. I'm all big in marketing. This is really damn important. So watch it. That's why the NFL is so successful.
Oh,
Sunday.
Yeah. Sunday. Yeah. I just want to go back here first of all. The seeding. Doesn't the NBA reseed? One of the leagues doesn't it?
No, not anymore. NBA came up with their old gimmick and gadget. You're the only guy I know that bought season tickets for play-in games. Doesn't say much about you intellectually, but God, I shouldn't have drank so much coffee today. I wouldn't be on the edge as much as I am. But no, there's been a lot of talk about reseed, but I don't think they want to tamper with the integrity. The playoffs are the playoffs. NHL's talked about reseed, but no.
But it was cool back then and back in the day before interleague because I grew up a National League fan and the American League was like on another planet.
Yeah.
And it was like a when Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley come together, it's like a crossover when you can play a team in the American League. It was like it was sacrilegious or something, and it's kind of neat.
To quote Henry Winkler. Yeah. Next question.
Okay. Let's go to Carlos. Chargers are done. They probably get beat by high school teams.
I won't go that far, but this is a bad piece of luck. I mean, to lose your left tackle and right tackle, both significant injuries. I was told maybe 4 weeks for Slater and Alt. That's really hard because those are the bookends. And you can run all these other big guys out there, but those guys are backups, and there's reasons they are backups because they're not equal. And to compound it, their center situation, they got Brad Bozeman, a journeyman center from Carolina. He is like 29th rated offensive center in the league 5 weeks into the season. So his ratings in terms of blocking and all that isn't that good. So the Chargers have really got O-line problems. And despite the courage and the heroics and the moxie of Justin Herbert, he's taken a lot of hits.
There are statistics for offensive linemen?
Oh, yes. There's all types of rating.
I never heard of that.
Well, if you wouldn't go to bed at 9:30 at night, you'd have time on the computer to go search this junk out.
That takes some serious film work to break down that data. Because they're not doing it in real time, are they? No way.
No. But there are groups that's what they do. I think there's one collection that does all statistics. I think it's called Fans Focus. You have to subscribe to it and all that. So, yeah, but there's all types of rating systems for virtually anything, including how good the offensive linemen are. You rank guard to guard, tackle to tackle, offensive center, etc.
I remember like about 5-6 years ago, there was a kid that lived around the corner from me that was the 3rd highest ranked long snapper in the United States for high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how in the hell do you rank that?
Well, accuracy,
mm-hmm.
power of getting the snap back. How quick does the snap get back there? The consistency of the spiral.
Man, that is a rabbit hole right there.
That's right. You could go down that hole and get lost for a week. Thanks for the comment. Next question.
Okay, let's go here to Carlos. You think the Padres are going to get through the first round?
I think so. At home, yeah. But even on the road, they got the second best road record in baseball. And, if they had been forced to go on the road, no problem. That's easy for me to say. They don't have to go to Dodger. I don't have to go to Dodger Stadium the second series or to go to Philadelphia the second series. But this thing is loaded. And, there have been people I've seen on social media, people just bagging on me. Oh, you were the one that said Preller is in jeopardy, lose his job. You were the asshole that used the comment House of Cards. Well, yeah, that's when you were screaming like I was screaming about them being underachievers through June 15th and losing. I heard you screaming about losing to Miami and losing to the Rockies and losing to the Pirates. And now you're bagging on me because I was presenting the information that was available at that time. Now, the information now is a little bit different. Social media. Boy, I just.
Well, see, they try to figure out if you're a fan of the team.
I'm just covering the team.
Right. You're a sports journalist. You cover the team. You have your take, your one man's opinion. But I think, as a fan of the team, you don't like people jumping on the bandwagon, jumping off the bandwagon. And I think they're projecting that on you.
Full disclosure, I went to Catholic elementary school. So I had a great education, arithmetic and geography and all that, and religion, catechism and all that. Didn't have any background in music. Yeah. Never had artwork, never had music, which was really kind of weird. Kind of felt degraded. I never learned to sing Kumbaya. So that's why I feel the way I feel.
Okay.
In terms of covering the team.
Kumbaya. All right, let's go to Gary. And Gary's got a long one here, Chalk and Chargers. Dean Spanos has had how long to build a fan base in Los Angeles? Getting close to 6 to 7 years now. There is more red at SoFi than an Alabama home game. His dream was to be successful in Los Angeles. What is success, Dean? Almost 1/5 of the way to another half century of failure for Los Angeles. I remember watching the San Diego Chargers, looking up in the stands and saw all the Raider fans in the stands after a big loss and would just shake their heads. David Binn especially must be so demoralizing.
Well, I'm not going to pile on, but what you said was damn true. Let's be honest. This is the 37th season the First Family of Footballs owned that team. First Family of Footballs had 16 winning seasons in 37 years. And those are the people that fired a Hall of Fame coach in Don Goriel, a Super Bowl coach in Bobby Beathard, a 200-win coach in Marty Schottenheimer, and a Hall of Fame general manager in Bobby Beathard. Those are the facts as presented today.
Yeah, and them's the facts, and yeah, I mean, the ownership there is just unbelievable, but it's weird. We were just talking about long snappers. This guy brings up David Binn.
One of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
18 years worth of doing something we none of us understand, but he was really good at it.
Yeah. What a coincidence right there. Okay,
Cal Golden Bear.
Okay, let's go here down the list. And David Ramos has been poking you with this one. Ohtani, 6 for 11, Arise 0 for 12 in the Dodgers versus Padres series. Who's ready for the playoffs?
They're both really good players, but Ohtani has just been fierce. I'm trying to remember the statistic as of last Friday. Ohtani was, I can't recall. He was the player of the week, but he was hitting like 595 for that final week in the middle of the pennant race. He's just so gifted. And Arise, I'm not going to say an acquired taste because you have to respect the accomplishment. You win 3 batting titles in a row. Dude is doing a lot of things. I have never seen a modern day ball player swing at so much stuff outside the strike zone and yet put it in play and get a base hit. I joked with John. I said, do you know there's 3 area codes in San Diego where we live? 760, 619, and 858. And Arise comes to the plate and he'll get pitches in all those area codes. And he'll swing at all of them. He's the best bad ball hitter in baseball modern day I've seen. I thought Yogi Berra was the all-time greatest bad ball hitter. This dude hits balls off his shoelaces and drives it. I mean, he's really unique. And 314, that's pretty damn impressive considering he's had some spells where he kind of went into a funk, yet he's hitting 314.
I just like his personality. He's like a fun guy. He's like out there and he's excited to be here for a winning team because he was playing for the Marlins that weren't going anywhere. So yeah, it's a pleasure to have him. But when I think of bad ball hitters, I think of Vladimir Guerrero Sr.
Oh, wild swinger.
Yeah, and he would be all over the place and that dude would drive the ball. But Arise is just kind of like a unicorn. He's like this unusual thing we haven't seen. It's not exactly Tony Gwynn, probably more like Rod Carew.
Yeah, he acts in a batter's box like he drank too much coffee too.
Yeah, exactly.
he's amazing. And here's the closing aspect of that conversation. AJ Preller got him from Miami and got Miami to pay his whole salary this year.
Executive of the year, man. That's him, AJ
That's
Preller.
Amazing. Now, Next year, they're going to have to pay $10 million to keep him.
But I think Hosmer comes off the payroll, doesn't he?
Exactly.
So they'll be able to move some things around.
Okay. Next question.
Okay. Let's actually, John had an NBA comment. He says, when the NBA auctioned the Clippers to Steve Ballmer for $2 billion, Dean's eyes rolled like slot machines. His idea was to move the team and score a payday. His family is in construction and can't build anything more than slum apartments and strip malls.
Well, you can denigrate them if you want. I'll sign that memo. At the end of the day, they've had one Super Bowl team and have hardly had any playoff teams. And like I say, 16 winning seasons in year 37. They're not the Rooneys. They're not the Maras. They're not the first family of football, the Crafts. So that's where we are. But do like the quarterback. And stupid me said, I hope Justin Herbert goes 17-0, and I hope Dean Spanos goes 0-17. I have a right to say what I want in my old podcast, and that's what I feel.
Well, you said earlier, like organizations
win or lose.
Yeah. And so that's why you see the consistency of failure here. I mean, it goes right to the top of the hierarchy chart.
But you can go through bad cycles. As great as Bob Kraft was in New England, they're in the midst of a bad cycle right now. Post Bill Belichick, it's going to take them some time. That happens to lots of places, but great organizations work their way through it and get out of it. I'm such a huge believer in the way the Rooneys do their business in Pittsburgh. Their standard of drafting, developing, and coaching. Hell, they've had 3 coaches since 1968. Chuck Noll. Think about that.
That's nuts. I mean, that doesn't exist anywhere. I mean, we're talking about all the managers that have been cycling through, like the Anaheim Angels, and to have 3 coaches
since 1968.
Since 68.
Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin.
And Bill Cowher still going strong on TV.
Yeah, telling you what he thinks.
Yeah, Tomlin, I think, is all right. I think he's good. Okay, you want to get some
social couple media? Social media here.
Okay, let's go there and scroll down the list. And okay, let's go here. Talking Padres, whose staff is better? You brought it up. And Frank Dad says, don't jinx us, Hack.
Oh, I'm not allowed to have an opinion on my podcast, but you're allowed to have an opinion on my podcast. Come on, Frank. Please take out a checklist. Just go ahead and compare. Who's got a better pitching staff? Padres over Dodgers. Padres probably a little bit over Philadelphia. Padres definitely better than the New York Yankees, top to bottom. And the Padres batting order is pretty good. And the Padres bench bunch is pretty good. When you say don't jinx them, I'm just giving you the facts.
I love the superstition in sports. I mean, to this day, I'll make sure I wear a certain Padres shirt on a certain game, and I'll do that in other sports too, and I know it's weird. It's just silly. But, it makes you think you're somehow involved in the win or the loss.
There's nothing wrong with being a fan.
No, not at all.
Sean Lewis gave me crap today at the Aztec press conference. Oilers, hockey? I said, hey, it was clean. I put it on. Whatever.
Yeah, he's a football coach. He doesn't know much about that. Okay, let's go here to talk a little Lakers with ASAP Mimic. He says, no Lakers fan who is invested into this team and following the team's every move through the fan-made channels or even thinking about Bronny right now. The rest of the NBA community do not understand just how bad of a coach Darvin Ham was, and certainly cost the Lakers a couple of wins with his terrible coaching all around, from play calling to lineups to development to crunch time decisions to preparations. Darvin is just a mediocre coach. Look for the Lakers to finish 4th through 6th in the West. 7th through 8th is a worst case scenario.
Well, that's optimistic. We have to see if JJ Redick's X's and O's work in the NBA, not having been a coach. We see if he becomes the head coach or whether LeBron James and Anthony Davis are coaches on the floor. Big issue. Bronny James, that's wasted conversation. Well, I mean, why would we be concerned about the 15th guy under contract and what he's going to contribute to a team that's got to get to the playoffs? That's a little far-fetched to me. The bigger storyline is Dalton Connect really the deal. If he can hit threes, and he did in the summer league once he got his feet underneath him, he played really well in the NBA summer league. If Connect is the real deal, now suddenly that team looks very different. They're gonna run the ball. They're gonna push the tempo. They are gonna shoot a lot more threes. That should help Austin Reeves. Can D'Angelo Russell be Mr. Consistency, or will he continue to be hot and cold? And I quoted the statistic on Rui Hachimura. Even though he's not a stud as it relates to a star, they were 21-8 when he was a starting power forward. So if they can find a mix for Rui to be part of, and he's consistent and connect to hit, and they can push the tempo and hit threes, then it's just not on AD and King James to carry the thing. So a lot of questions there have to be answered going forward when they open their camp in the next week.
Whenever you're wondering about LA coaches, you have to think about LeBron. It's like LeBron really the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder if there were differences of opinion in the locker room when they're drawing up game plans between Ham and LeBron, and then potentially with JJ Redick and LeBron, even though those two guys are buddies. So I don't know what to expect from JJ Redick.
It has to come from the players, though, on the floor. They got to respect the coach. Coach has to know what he's doing, but it's got to come from the players have to execute. And that means players 4 through 10 have to be able to contribute and be consistent and hopefully not get hurt, which has been part of the Lakers' problems too. So fascinating list of questions to talk about going, and we're going to talk more about it as we roll into the month of October.
Okay, we've got to talk about Dave Roberts. Okay, you have time for that?
Go ahead.
Okay, let's get Dave Roberts' commentary because there is so much talk on social media about this. And let's go here. The big question is who's going to be the better manager in the playoffs? Roberts has been horrible in the postseason. Padres may have the edge.
Oh, I think they do. I mean, we got all these 90 wins for Mike Schilt in St. Louis and now in San Diego without the star-studded superstar talent that the Dodgers have. Dave obviously has been critiqued, and rightfully so, although maybe it's not all his decision about who pitches, who doesn't pitches, who's first out of the bullpen, what matchup must we have. We're talking about postseason playoffs because that's where they're falling short. And you go back and look at the usage of Urias in the bullpen coming out of the rotation, or asking Kershaw to throw out of the bullpen, or obviously before that, the multiple times they overused Joe Kelly. Those all came from the manager, but did they come from upstairs on the analytics sheet that they sent down that said, we recommend this? I don't have the direct answer to that. But yeah, I also tend to think the Dodgers, and John and I talked about this last Friday, I think they're a little bit passive. You don't see a hell of a lot of bunts. You don't see a lot of hit and runs with the Dodgers. It's like, well, just hang around, get to the top of the batting order, and they'll put it in the seats. The Padres are kind of built differently. The Padres play a lot of station-to-station, base-to-base baseball. I mean, they do squeeze bunts. They do dump the ball down the line. They try to move runners over, and they even do surprise stuff. You don't see a lot of that surprise stuff with the Dodgers. To me, the Dodgers are a little bit too passive, even though they got superstars at the top of the batting order.
Well, there was another comment here about bunting, talking about the Dodgers, and that was from Eric. And he said, I'm going to give him a pass for the World Series. The Astros cheated on. Number one, Dave Roberts has won a lot with one of the highest paid rosters in MLB history. I blame Dave Roberts for the monumental pitching collapses in a few playoff games, including the World Series. He just recently made an error against the Padres. Instead of bunting to bring Ohtani to the plate, he let Miguel Rojas hit into a triple play to end the game. It's errors of that nature that make me dislike him. And the list goes on and on.
Well, of course, the response from Dave Roberts was, if we lay the bunt down with Machado and the first baseman storming in, that could turn into a double play anyhow. Because it also could turn into, depending on where the ball is placed on the bunt, it could also be a throw into center field if they screw the play up. So it's a real tough call. But Rojas is hitting around 300. Rojas putting bat on ball. Rojas drove that thing at Machado. That could have swallowed Machado up and gone into left field. So it's always, hindsight is always 20/20 in the rearview mirror. Yeah, it would have been nice to have Ohtani up. But even if it had been one out, if Manny had only gotten one out, Ohtani would have come up, still with guys who could score and facing Suarez. This turned into a triple play. You don't hardly see triple plays ever. I've never seen triple play ever in person or on TV.
Yeah, usually you see it a highlight, when it happens. Watching that one, and then I saw one where the Padres bunted into a triple play against the Dodgers. It was awful. It makes you wonder too, like how much impact does a manager have on a baseball roster? Like how many wins or losses could you directly point your finger at to say that's on the manager?
John, it's got to come from the players. The players have to produce. I mean, here in that game today, that first game of that Atlanta must-win doubleheader with the Mets, they stayed with that starting pitcher into the 8th inning, then he ran out of gas. He had an 11-pitch at-bat that wound up being a double. That opened the floodgates. But it came from the pitchers. Atlanta went to the bullpen, and Joe Jimenez, who's been reliable, he got killed. And then they went to the closer, Iglesias, to try to stop the bleeding, and he got killed. It comes from the players. It can, if I've got an ace that's been pretty trustworthy for a long time, I'm going to keep going to him in the most crunch time situations that exist. So you can do X's and O's to a degree, but it's got to come from the players. Players have to produce.
Yeah, when you're managing a game and you're in it, you can feel energy. That of how a pitcher or a hitter is going. You might say it's momentum, but the confidence level, you can see that. And some, computer nerd in the front office that's delivering all the data downstairs, they don't see that. They don't understand that. So I wonder if Dave Roberts is he just toeing the line to be a good company man, or I wonder how often he maybe pushes back on the front office.
He's pretty even-keeled emotionally. I mean, I like him a great deal. I respect him a great deal as a person, much less a really good player and highest winning manager in Dodger history.
Yeah.
LA Dodger history, Brooklyn Dodger history. Just think about that. But at the end of the day, the players have to produce. And for them to be where they are, first place, home field advantage, entire National League playoffs, for them to be there with all the pitchers they lost, we flashed a board up here last Friday. I don't think the average fan understands the number of pitchers on the DL who had surgeries this year. I mean, it's phenomenal. 38 pitchers have used, 19 different starting pitchers have had to use, 7 season-ending surgeries. And that doesn't include Glasnow and the other guys that are just gone because they've not been able to stay healthy, not having surgery, but aren't pitching right now. For them to be in first place with that set of statistics, that's pretty impressive. And I also think there's an intangible. Dave Roberts, and I'm not been in that clubhouse. I don't, if there was our team here, I'd probably have a much better feel for it. His ability to control the egos and the emotions of that team, because they're all making unbelievable salaries, and there is no ego. That is a consummate collective 26-man roster that plays really well together and obviously pulls the rope the same direction. There's not a lot of junk going on like the junk we had here in San Diego last year with that toxic Padre clubhouse. And Dave Roberts, he controls that out of respect.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I think so.
Like when I see him interviewed on television, I'm like, right on. I understand him. He's a man of good character. But the fans, man, there's some fans that think that he has been given so much money, such top talent that you could roll any manager out there and he would have won 2 or 3 World Series.
Yeah, but he's victimized by the stupidity of Trevor Bauer, by the stupidity of Julio Urias. I mean, by the cloud of bad luck with Tyler Glasnow's elbow injury again and again and again. That's all beyond his control. And yet they're in first place and home field advantage for everything going to the World Series.
And yeah, I mean, it's hard to see. I mean, we talk about Schilt as manager of the year. Roberts has got a damn good case.
Yeah. No, I'd give it to Schilt. What he had to create and fix compared to what Dave inherits and operates with, a little bit different. But hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this extended Monday bonus podcast. Playoffs, baby.